This message brought to you by CareLink, the Arkansas Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What are you doing today?
I'm going to work.
What for?
What for?
I work for gas money.
He works for gas money?
Gas is so expensive.
Expensive gas.
It's too expensive.
I can't afford it.
Why don't you take public transportation?
Now, why on earth would I do that?
It is National Dump the Pump Day.
Celebrate National Dump the Pump Day.
Pump. How's your pump?
National Dump the Pump Day!
Showtime!
Wake up! Alrighty there, boys and girls. It is 7:23, and that means it's time for the Roundtable, which isn't a table, and it isn't round. It's kind of a flat surface, and it goes to my right.
Right.
And left. Hey, man, that's like a tea bucket, only without the bucket.
Right.
I'm sitting in the Y.
Right.
Because I don't know why.
Right.
As long as we were able to clear that up. Morning, Doc.
Right.
How's every little thing in Docland?
Well, I can tell you this, I ain't giving up no pump or no gas or anything like that.
I ain't dumping the pump, man, because if I dump the pump, that means I got to walk.
Or ride a bike.
Well, yeah, but my bike requires me to not dump the pump.
My bike don't. My bike requires 2 legs.
Well, I mean, it's helpful on my bike, but I guess not completely and totally necessary.
Well, you can always scooch with your feet.
Sure, no. That ain't happening, man.
Or you can just always electrify your bike.
Yeah, that ain't happening either.
And then you get a deck of cards and stick it in your spokes.
I ain't doing one of them electric scooters. You know, I'm not living on top of a hill so I can always roll down. No, that's not happening.
No, get you a Segway, man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. We're going to buzz the cooler in a different way, okay? All right, it's the Roundtable brought to you each and every weekday morning by our buddies out at Flaming Pig Barbecue. Well, I don't know where they're going to be set up next, and I'm not sure they know where they're going to be set up next. But if you're interested, you can always follow them on the Facebook page, and they'll put it up just as soon as they decide where they're going to be, when they're going to be there. That's typically the best. And if you don't want to wait that long, call him up, 818-5984. We are brought to you by our buddies out at SAU Tech. You know, you can now apply online for jobs and career decisions out at SAU Tech. Go Rockets. St. John's Place and Washington Nursing and Rehab. Check them out online, stjohnsplaceofarkansas.com and WashingtonNursing.com. There we go. Call them 836-4111 or 352-2104. First Choice Family Care, that's Dr. Jera. I'm assuming she's on her way. I haven't talked to her yet this morning. 476 Hospital Drive, that's where you'll find her if she's not here. 870-800-9002. Dr. Smith and her staff, always there to help. Get a new patient packet at myfirstchoicecare.com. OCMC's Chemical Dependency Unit, reminding you that you're not alone. Addiction is a tough thing to get through. You can make the choice to be a better you. And if you need the help that they offer, 870-836-1289, 1-800-232-1289. Just remember that all calls are confidential. Mitch Lowe's Body Shop. You get put in the ditch, just call Mitch, 837-2560. There's Dr. Smith. Let's see. Stories Floor and Carpet. Quality you can count on since 1958. They can sand and refinish your hardwood floors using their dust containment system, too. They do custom tile showers, kitchen backsplashes, and so much more out at Stories Floor and Carpet. Call them up, 870-862-9446. Everybody's Antiques down in El Dorado. They've got a bunch of them. Antiques, gifts, and collectibles. 31,000 square feet, 120 booths. Shop them online, everybody'santiques.com, or call 870-875-1444. And finally, by Cabin Rural Health Services. They are a private, non-profit corporation developed to provide affordable care to meet the primary medical and dental care needs of the residents in 8 counties of rural South and Southwestern Arkansas. Learn more about what Cabin can do for you on their website, cabun.org, or call them up, 870-798-4299. Morning, Dr. Smith.
Good morning.
She's in the house. Doc Bryce?
Yeah, I heard, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I heard the keys falling and everything, and yeah.
Oh, well, I missed
the boom
that part.
swinging around. Yeah, I heard it.
I was good enough to go ahead and kill the volume on the mic before everybody got to.
I thought somebody broke
that.
into the house. I was like, oh my God,
Oh,
Henry!
whatever.
It's like Henry, someone's downstairs.
She's like a bull in a china closet, right? Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. Actually, she's like that little mouse, man. You just barely notice her.
Yeah, well, for somebody who's little and tiny like her, she can make a lot of noise.
I think it's because you all have so many things that amplify noise in here.
Well, we do have a couple of those things
Yeah,
laying
so,
around.
you know.
So,
Look at that. She used a big word today, amplify.
yeah,
Amplify. That's 3.
She's just trying to show us up again.
She's using our words.
Yeah, well, you know. All right, guys and gals, we're going to take a break. Let me regroup with Dr. Smith right quick, and y'all hang out, and then we'll be back.
Yeah,
right?
we'll do something like that.
All right, hang on.
It's time to check the Radio Works South Arkansas Community Bulletin Board.
Mark your calendars and enjoy the Southern Plainsman Quartet, Louisiana's Goodwill Ambassadors, at the Pleasant Ridge Church, located at 2880 Fairview Road. The Southern Plainsman Quartet will perform on June 19th at 11 a.m. Visit them online at southernplainsman.com.
Good Thursday morning. Sunny skies in store for you today. Temperature should reach near 95 with heat index values as high as 103. Tonight, mostly clear skies, overnight low near 74. For Friday, sunny and 96. Then on Friday night, clear skies and 74. Saturday, sunny and hot and 97. Then for Juneteenth Sunday, lots of sunshine, temperature near 95. Out of the Radio Works Weather Center, I'm JJ.
Local sports update.
Hello, sports fans, with a look at local games and scores. I'm Kelly Blair. While Stanford is the highest-seeded team to advance to the College World Series, the second-seeded Cardinal are apparently not the favorite to win the whole thing in Omaha, Nebraska. That distinction goes to number 9-seeded Texas. The odds released Tuesday on betonline.ag. Stanford is the third favorite in the 8-team field with 5-1 odds to take the title. They are behind the Longhorns at 4-1 and the University of Arkansas, who checks in at 9-2. Stanford did not have an easy path to Omaha as the Cardinals went 5-0 in elimination games after losing in the winner's bracket of their home regional in Palo Alto, California. They also fell in their super regional opener to UConn last weekend. Coach David Esquer, who has helped guide the Cardinals to the 87 College World Series title as a starting shortstop, will be leading Stanford to their 18th appearance in Omaha and their second in a row during 4 seasons under his leadership. He also led the University of California to an appearance in 2011. Stanford is the Pac-12 regular season and tournament champion and beat the Razorbacks 5-0 on the second weekend of the season in cold, wet conditions at the Round Rock, Texas Classic. However, the Cardinals have undergone significant change, particularly on their pitching staff, since that game. The Cardinal entered the postseason on a 16-game winning streak that included the regular season sweeps of Cal, Utah, and Southern California, plus a 4-game title run at the league tournament at Scottsdale, Arizona. But their 17-game winning streak was snapped to a 5-2 loss to Texas State. Afterward, the Cardinals started their 5-game run of wins in elimination games. The Cardinal and the Diamond Hogs will meet on Saturday at 1 p.m. in the first round of the College World Series, and the game can be heard on Fox Sports Camden 97.1 FM. That'll wrap it up for now with your sports update. I'm Kelly Blair. I'm the best there is at what I do, and What I Do Is Sports.
Good morning, South Arkansas. It's time for the Ouachita River Report for Thursday, June 16th. In Camden, the flood warning remains in effect until Saturday afternoon. The river is expected to fall below flood stage late Friday morning. Currently, the gauge reading is 26.7 feet. Flood stage is 26 feet. Arkadelphia is currently at 11.44 feet. Flood stage is 17 feet. Flood warnings remain in effect until further notice at Thatcher Lock and Dam. The current gauge reading is 80.92 feet. Flood stage is 79 feet. The river there will rise to 81.4 feet early Friday morning before starting to slowly fall. And at Morro Bay State Park, the gauge reading is 78 feet with flood stage at 82 feet. Reliability of this forecast is based on current and forecasted river and weather conditions from the National Weather Service in Little Rock. You guys have a great week and be safe. All right, we are back on the Roundtable. Dr. Brass in the studio. And Dr. Jera. Nah, it just didn't sound right. It's got to be Dr. Smith over here next to me. Good morning, Dr. Smith. Welcome back to the studios. We miss you when you're gone.
Good morning.
So we got inundated with a bunch of people that, everybody, I think they're making a game out of it now.
To catch
right?
you
Oh,
when you're
yeah,
not
yeah. Where's JJ and how can we screw him up today? So, throughout the week.
It means that a lot of people are listening.
Well, a lot of people are listening, and apparently I can't say anything wrong. That's for doggone sure. A lot of people are listening, and they're starting to open up just a little bit about different questions. Yeah. I'm thinking that they're trying to turn this into Stump the Doctor. All right, because we've gotten some off-the-wall questions coming from every direction this week.
I like it.
So I'm just going to let you go with it.
Okay, I'm going to go with the ones I think are quicker first.
Okay.
And that way we can spend more time on the things I think deserve more time.
All right. So, Doc Bryce, keep your mouth shut. Let her get through this.
The easiest one on this list for me is my doctor's recommending psychotherapy. Does that mean I'm crazy? And I would say yes. Everyone is.
Absolutely.
It's just if your crazy matches other people's crazy. Every pot has a lid.
A straitjacket is in your future, right?
No, the psychotherapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, is a huge thing. And what it does is, like, if you can identify that there was at all faults in your parents' parenting, then they have taught you probably some unhelpful ways to deal with things, and unlearning things that are not helping you is a huge thing. I think that therapists, I think everyone should have a therapist. If you can identify one traumatic event in your childhood, just check in with a therapist and just see. Because what I've learned is that the truest forms of crazy are somewhat blind. They don't realize how crazy they are.
Well, and see, when I got this question, I hate to admit this, but they were standing in front of my basket, and they kept trying to work their way left and right, and I kept the basket in betwixt us. So I was like, no, I don't think you're crazy. No, I'm teasing. But, if your doctor is recommending something like this.
And I would make a very blanket recommendation, and I think anyone could talk to a therapist. Absolutely. I think that we should start getting kids, maybe you should have to talk to a therapist quarterly in high school, and then more often if there's something concerning. Yeah, and then maybe we wouldn't have people, shooting up places because we identify them just a little earlier.
Well, you can get the help that you need.
Yes.
And, there's no shame in asking for help.
Well, and growing and maturing, if you knew the best thing to do in any given situation, then there's nothing to learn, and what a depressing place to be.
You'd be the psychotherapist at that point.
But I think everybody needs someone that they can turn to say, hey, I don't know how to deal with this. How do I deal with this? And depending on the craziness of the people you ask that question, you could add significantly to your problem.
Absolutely.
And so talking to someone that is trained in how to help you kind of see the fuller picture, see all your options, see how your past experiences make how you interpret a situation and how that makes you react or not react, right? And so life is complex, and not knowing what to do in a situation seems scary, but it can actually be kind of adventurous. You don't have to have an answer for absolutely everything, and to not be put on the spot and feel like you have to do something right now. Like, you don't have to. And when you have a therapist, you have somebody that's like, when you get in a sticky situation, you can kind of just defer and then talk to your therapist about that situation, and then kind of get a little bit more clarity as to how you really interpreted that situation, what you can do, what your options are, in a way that keeps you respectful to yourself and to others. Because a lot of people, they have a really easy time respecting other people, and they don't respect themselves. And the Bible says to love your neighbor as yourself. So if you treat yourself crappily, then don't treat your neighbor that way.
Yeah, I mean, your neighbor's like, well, whoop your blood, okay?
I'm just saying that 'cause a lot of people, they'll treat everyone around them a lot better and not give themselves any, but taking care of yourselves makes you more available to the people around you in a healthy way, right? And so either you have that kind, or the kind that takes really good care of themselves and doesn't care about the people around them. And either way, you know, how you interact can really, having a good therapist can really help those difficult situations. We all have hard people in our life that are hard to deal with, and a therapist may be able to help you improve that relationship.
All right. What else we got?
Can my kid get impetigo? I think that's impetigo from a mosquito bite.
I don't know how to spell it, okay?
Impetigo is a bacterial infection. It's superficial. It doesn't usually get severe, but yes. Anytime you break the skin, but it's going to come more often from the scratching of the mosquito bite than the mosquito bite itself. Impetigo tends to be on the face. It'll be like a sore that just not getting better, and it tends to have like a crust to it. And it's very easily treatable. So you should just see your doctor and get the treatment. It's easy.
So there's a cream for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Ointment. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
What are the signs and treatment for heat exhaustion? In general, with heat exhaustion, you have the exposure. You don't typically get heat exhaustion without having been somewhere hot and tired. But there's lots of things that predispose people. If you're not regularly fit, if you're not used to the environment, if you have a large body mass, so that can be very large muscle mass or obesity. If you've drank alcohol before this activity, if you're on it, certain types of medications can increase your risk of dehydration. If you've had a recent infection, if you're fighting off a cold and then you went out and mowed your lawn and you're heavy and you're not usually outside, and you drank a little before you did it, and then it's like, yeah, you've got several of those risk factors now. If you've had heat stroke before, or if you have any kind of other things. But the biggest thing is just making sure that you are just leery of it, to be honest. If you aren't usually out in the heat, don't all of a sudden go out and perform rigorous physical activity outside in the Arkansas summer.
Well, not only that, but a simple trip to the mailbox can definitely wear you out, depending on your physical condition.
And how far the mailbox is.
Well, there is that part. If you're out there and you don't have a place where you can cool down, Judge McAdoo sent Doc and I a message letting us know that the Family Activity Center at Calvary Baptist Church in East Camden will be open today from 11 to 5, and you can come in and enjoy the AC. They're going to have lots of room, and you can come by the office side of the church, and they have plans to use their gym area as well. Cullendale First Baptist Cooling Center is also open. So just a couple of places where you can
beat the heat.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got that in there.
And so heat exhaustion, you're going to see an obvious difficulty in continuing to do whatever activity that you're doing, even if you're an athlete, right? Things that are usually you're able to do all of a sudden become difficult to do. And then your core body temperature rises, so you start to have a fever, but you're not like you didn't have 6 symptoms. And then you can have all kinds of other things, but the biggest thing is that if you have just a real mild confusion, so you're just not thinking quite as clear. And if you have anything else, then that's probably not heat exhaustion, and you probably need to go to the ER. Now, if it's heat exhaustion, you just need to cool off. That's the biggest thing.
You said, you might not be thinking quite as clear, all right?
Right.
So if you're not thinking quite as clear, how do you recognize that you're not thinking quite as clear?
Well, you might just kind of think that you kind of have that mental stutter. It's like, what was I doing? What was I going to do next? Who was I supposed, it's like it, but if you're having like trouble speaking, you need to go to the ER. but if you feel like all of a sudden you're super sluggish, you're not able to do what you usually do, you're having trouble kind of thinking as clear as usual, not that you're having trouble thinking, it would be a very mild symptoms that I would tolerate. Just get inside, cool off. If you're having trouble cooling off, water always helps. So get in a room temperature bath. It doesn't have to be an ice bath. You don't want shock. But just even the garden hose, if you just pour water over yourself, it naturally increases your surface area of evaporation, and the evaporation of that water is cooling. And get a big old drink of water and rest. Okay?
Now, we preach hydrate. There are good things to drink, and then there are
water.
Not so good things.
Everything else.
Gatorades.
Those are okay, but
we're talking electrolytes.
You really don't need those as much as everybody thinks you need those. Like, you usually eat plenty of salt. Most people eat plenty of salt that they can make up for losses in sweat. Now, if you're on some sort of low salt diet and you watch that really close, then it may be more important to get more of those electrolytes in. You do want to watch out if you're sensitive to sugar, because all of those drinks have a lot of sugar in them, unless you get the sugar-free options. And then I would just say that if you're at all concerned, then I would at least drink a thing of water equal to whatever electrolyte replacement. So you drink a bottle of water, a bottle of Gatorade, bottle of water, bottle of Gatorade. And even then, it's like if you're eating normally, you probably don't need all of those electrolytes.
Okay.
You probably just need to drink more water.
And water is readily available.
Yeah.
Typically.
We actually live in a great place. Like, you can usually drink water right from the tap. I wouldn't drink it from like a stream or anything unless you want like a bad case of diarrhea. But most of the stuff that...
worst case scenario, get a drink out of the stream, okay? But,
if you're out in the woods, yes. But in general, just drink more water.
Okay.
Rest. At least sit in the shade,
Getting out of the direct sunlight will definitely
resting.
Aid. Just sit under a tree or whatever,
Yep.
I mean, make sure that you're someplace where you can fan yourself, even if you got to use your hand.
And the more...
Get somebody on their way to help you.
Yeah, and the more that energy you're requiring, the more that you're contributing. So if you feel like, hey, I'm just exhausted, right? Just listen to your body. If you're not used to being out in the heat, don't try to work through something, right? Listen to your body. Go find you a nice tree, a big glass of water, and sit down in the grass. Lay down in the grass.
Relax.
Yeah, look at the clouds go by.
Take a breath.
Pray to Jesus and tell him thank you for everything he's given you.
Now's the time, okay? So yeah, yep. Absolutely. Okay.
This next one says, what causes me to see stars from time to time? And that can be kind of a complex question. Everyone can see floaters. You have proteins and things in the fluid that's inside your eyeball, and there are times that you can see those things. Like, say you're looking at a very plain, like a bright blue sky, you probably see like little shadowy type things.
Now, that's happened to me, okay?
That is, you're literally like, you have blood vessels along those things, and so like there's a lot of things that you can physically see when you can't see anything else, right?
I mean, when they were asking me this question, I was like, well, I've never seen stars, but I have seen, out of my peripheral. The little black dots or shadows or something along those lines.
You can see it, but it's hard to describe.
Right.
Because what you're actually seeing is something that's so close to your retina that it's hard to define it.
You can't quite put your finger on that,
right.
okay?
And if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't see it.
Right. If you weren't just, blitzed. Anyway, so, no, there are a
That's
good number of things.
That's another cause for stars.
Well, story night.
If you've had a head injury, that would be concerning. If you have a headache, it would be concerning.
Should I run to the ER just because I'm seeing stars, though?
I wouldn't think that by itself, but that with anything else. So if you have a headache or eye pain, you need to see someone. Now, if you're seeing episodes of having like flashing lights and things, that does need to be evaluated. But if it's intermittent and not accompanied with other symptoms, then it wouldn't be like an urgent thing. Another thing, if you're kind of over-treated on your blood pressure, so say that your blood pressure was high, and so they gave you a lot of medicine, but then you're changing your diet, you're trying to exercise, you're losing weight, your blood pressure can go down. And so when you stand up, you can get real lightheaded and kind of have some visual changes, and those positional changes can exacerbate like a low blood pressure. And so those types of things, that workup would be different. But no matter what, if you have any kind of visual disturbance, having an eye doctor examine your eyeballs would probably be a good idea.
Well, my mom.
And you're not going to find that eye doctor in the ER. They'll be like, ooh, eyeballs.
Typically, no. They don't hang out. Well, my mom's, she was diagnosed with a problem where the eyeball was actually swelling.
You can have increased pressure inside the eyeball, glaucoma. You can have retinal problems like detached retina, and that'll cause flashes of light, and it can be very painless, but all of a sudden your vision is changing. But it tends to be more, it's not really something that comes and goes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So any visual changes, you need to see a doctor. If it's coming and going, it's urgent but not emergent. But if you all of a sudden have vision changes that are not improving, you need to go to the ER.
Something out of the ordinary, the best bet is to err on the side of caution.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because your eyeballs, you don't want to lose those.
Well,
they're important.
I like to be able to see where I'm going.
Stevie Wonder did okay. But
yeah, I'm no Stevie Wonder, okay?
Yeah,
so,
my job changes significantly if I can't see.
They don't like it when I feel my way through. So, all right, what else we got?
It says how much sleep is too little or too much. And I would say that's a very individual thing. Sleep is something that is very affected by how much you think you should sleep, which as we age, we need less and less sleep. There's a really good website that I like that's called the sleepfoundation.org, and they have a lot of information on improving your sleep quality. As far as how much sleep is needed, that changes as we age. Like I said, babies need like tons and tons of sleep, whereas adults need much less. And in general, you can say between 6 to 8 hours for most adults.
See, my body is on its own schedule. And whether the alarm is on or not, I'm still getting up at the same time each and every day. That's pretty much my wife's fault, but that's another story. We're not going to yell at her right now. But I've been this way for years. Mm-hmm. So about 5.5 hours is my average.
But I seem to be able to function. You need to sleep more, like earlier. If you have to wake up early, then making sure that you adjust your sleep time appropriately is important. And as we age, for most adults, they on the lower end of normal is 6, but upper end of normal would be 10. And then once you get over the age of 65, lower age kind of drops down to that 5 to 6 with upper limit of 9. And that's total daytime sleep, or total sleep, including daytime sleep. So that's the amount of sleep that you need in a given day.
So that would include my midday nap.
Yeah. So that would factor into how much total sleep you got in that 24-hour period.
Okay.
So if you only sleep 5 hours, but you take a 2-hour nap, that's 7 hours of sleep. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't get the 2-hour nap, but I do get to 5. Okay, the 5 is pretty consistent. We go down around 8:30, sleep by 9, and up by 2 every day, 7 days a week. I love my wife. Yes, I love my wife.
And anytime, so if 9 is usually your sleep time, instead of just moving that sooner, like, oh, I need to sleep by 7, and trying to go to sleep at 7, you're going to be fighting your body's circadian rhythm. It would be best to adjust gradually. So I'm going to start the process earlier, and I'm going to get in bed at like 8:45. Right, and then I'm going to move it to 8:30, and so trying to gradually move that forward, and then making sure that there's a lot of medications that can help you go to sleep. Unfortunately, none of them actually get you deep sleep. Ambien, Lunesta, all those people that sell all of those medicines that can be addictive, habit forming, and interact with other medications, they don't get you more deep sleep. How you live determines how good of a quality of sleep that you get, right? Those medications may make you sleep more, but it doesn't improve the quality of the sleep that you get. And so the things that improve the quality are exercise during the day. People that exercise have better quality of deep sleep. Making sure that you don't have sleep apnea. So if you snore or frequent nighttime awakenings, getting evaluated for sleep apnea is important, because you're missing out on that deep sleep, and you will need more sleep trying to make up for it. Although you can't get deep sleep when you have sleep apnea, because you stop breathing and then your body panics and wakes you up, and then you don't get that deep sleep. And that'll be evident. Your blood pressure will go up, your weight will go up. And most of the time somebody will be like, yeah, you really snore logs, or I saw you stop breathing, or I noticed it during surgery. I'm like, whoa, like, we can breathe for you, but
there you go.
When somebody's waking up from sleep and they're just kind of snoozing and they're not under full anesthesia, they're like, it's like all of a sudden I was like, whoa, we probably check that out later.
Mental note. Okay.
Yeah. So making sure that you are protecting your sleep, because poor quality of sleep, like I said, it increases your risks of weight gain. It increases your blood pressure. It can change your function and alertness. Accumulated sleep deprivation, though, so that means like over time that they can actually increase your risk for long-term changes like dementia over time. So prioritizing sleep and trying to make healthy sleep choices is super, super, super important.
Okay. All right. We got any more that you have time to address?
There is one more, and it says, please explain what to look for in kids with attention. It says ADHD. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I really hate calling it a disorder, because I don't think that it's a problem. It becomes a problem when you try to, one of my favorite quotes on education is that if we judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid, right? And so if we take these kids that think differently and, oh, there's something wrong with you, it's like, maybe they're just different and we need to be different for them. And so these neuroatypical children, they'll tend to be like driven by a motor. It's hard to keep up with them. They don't stop talking. They're really impulsive. They have trouble, like, oh, I know I shouldn't do that, but I did it anyway.
Wow, that's all 4 of my kids.
Right. They have trouble playing quietly. They have hard time waiting turns. They tend to blurt out answers. They tend to fidget a lot.
You just described all 4 of my kids, okay?
And so when we get into these neuroatypical behaviors, it becomes having that diagnosis is important if it's starting to interfere with their function, right? Because just being different is not a bad thing, right? Look at Temple Grandin. She was autistic, and she changed the cattle industry, right? And so just being different doesn't mean we have to intervene. Right?
Well, it doesn't mean that you got a problem either.
Exactly. But we can embrace and accept and as parents, we have to change for that child, because they do not respond to your usual parenting techniques, and your usual parenting techniques will make dysfunctional adults in those children. And that's what's wrong with our society. So when we're talking about kids with ADHD, obviously if it's causing like significant stress, and it tends to be in more than one situation, if it's only for you and they do great in school, that might be something else. You know, we might go back to that therapy option. And
Back
usually,
to the beginning, okay.
Usually children with problematic behaviors, they don't know how to adjust to things. So it usually means there's something else going on, some sort of stress, some sort of change that they're not coping well with. And so having a family therapy can really be helpful, because there may be something that's going on and they don't know how to express it, but they're just acting bad, right? Bad, unquote, because I hate calling a child bad. Please, if there's anything you learn from today, do not ever call a child bad again, no matter how bad they're acting. They may be making a bad choice, but that child is not
a bad child, right?
Yeah, and you don't know what's going on with that kid, especially if you don't know that kid. I've heard people like, "Oh, that kid was acting was horrible or bad," and it's like, do you know that kid? Maybe that kid's autistic. Don't go judging that kid, like, because it changes how you interact with that child, and how that autistic child learns strangers is very different from a normal person. So you acting judgmental towards that child can damage how well he copes and learns to act with strangers in the future. So we have to act in loving, accepting ways. It doesn't mean we accept all behavior, but as adults, all feelings are acceptable, and all behaviors are just an indicator of internal things. And those internal things, if we can identify those, we can help those, right? And modify the behavior in the process. But with those ADHD kids, it'll be a whole life thing. It's not something new that all of a sudden crops up. You know who they are. Like, I'm fairly certain my children will be like that, or at least my oldest. And so trying to change how I parent, but she does very well in school. So, and I was that same way as a child. I did very well in school. Because those kiddos that are neuroatypical will tend to have things that they really enjoy, and they can learn more about that thing than anyone else.
Well, right? I mean, some of those foremost experts in any given field could have been diagnosed with ADHD, misdiagnosed.
Or undiagnosed.
You know, one way or the other. I loved what you said about you never know what's going on with this kid.
Right.
All right. All kids are different.
Right.
And you know, I mean, it will carry through to their adult life, absolutely. But the one thing that, you know, you really ought to do is, you know, not judge them, not prejudge them. Let's just go ahead and see what we need to do to adjust our life to help make their lives a little bit better.
Well, and what I find is that the most common part of parenting is that they see a bad behavior and they punish the bad behavior. Right? My goal in stopping it, and punishment can, what I call, extinct a bad behavior, right? A child's throwing a fit and you spank them and they stop, right?
Sure.
That does not teach them what they should be doing instead. And it does introduce a level of fear of your parent.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so parenting via fear is probably not your best technique for good behavior over time. Right? And what happens with these neuroatypical kids is that you've got to think, is this, for one, naughty, or two, neurodevelopmental? You know they have impulse control. I see it in the exam rooms. That kid wants to turn that light switch off. And once you tell them, don't touch that, right? That's the only thing that child can see. You have labeled that thing, and now that is the only thing that child can see.
Boy,
and
I'm
now
just waiting for you to look the other way.
Their goal that whole exam
I'm so going to go push that button. Oh, that button's got to go,
exactly.
man.
And they struggle with impulse control, and they can be as much as 2 years behind their peers in certain categories, like social functioning. And, you know, it's like, so when you get this 5-year-old that won't listen, right? It's like they have that impulse control that maybe isn't 5 years old. If that was a 3-year-old, would it make more sense? Right? Yes, totally. 3-year-olds are terrible, right?
Yeah. Until you reach 5, you're just a terrible child.
Yeah. So it's like so asking yourself, is this really naughty or is this neurodevelopmental? Those kids will have things. They will forget things. They will be impulsive. They will have a hard time dealing with big feelings. And if they are punished, not for being naughty, but for their neurodevelopmental delays, why be good if you're going to be punished for being good?
Well, and that boils down to, the different ways there are for correcting bad behavior. All right, and that's what it is in the end, is bad behavior. A lot of the times it's a monkey see, monkey do type thing.
But then, like, bad, too, is like we need to make sure that what is age-appropriate behavior? Because, like, around 5 years old, they start lying. It's common.
Yes.
Right? And turns out that if kids are spanked, there's a lot of good evidence, and I think that we could be honest with ourselves who were spanked and know that you become excellent liars.
Oh, I got a whole lot better. Once I started getting my butt whooped, I could spin a yarn.
Exactly, because you know that if you lie well enough, you don't get spanked.
Well, I'm here to tell you, I was pretty good at that.
So I get the, like, really wanting to drive that home, but the key thing is that if you spend more time, identify which behaviors are the most problematic, and I would leave that as problematic, not bad, right? Children don't know how to act, and it is our job to teach them. And to discipline means to disciple, and that is from the root word that means to teach. It doesn't mean to spank, right? Which spanking has its place. I'm not against spanking. My husband and I have spanked our children, right? But the biggest focus, that spanking extincts the behavior, but it does not change what the child should do in that situation. And I promise that if you never spanked and you only focused on, okay, how can I teach this child what they should do in this situation when they're not in their feelings, right? Because when I'm angry, is it really helpful to come up to me and be like, you shouldn't be angry? And I was like, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Come try it.
That works real well.
Wait till your spouse is just lit and then just go, you should not feel that way.
I don't know why you're so mad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See how that works, right?
Yeah.
Because when we're experiencing big feelings,
I spend a night or two on the couch that way. I can guarantee that.
It's not a teachable time, right? But if you focus on, like, really picking out which behaviors you want to work on and isolating those behaviors and teaching and playing about those behaviors, like, for example, a child that's throwing big fits, you can actually, the fit is not the most teachable moment. They are not really a human at that time, right? They are a tiny animal.
I promise you, they're not going to learn
They're like a Tasmanian
right
devil.
there,
You just make it where they don't hurt themselves or someone else and wait for the animal instincts to pass, right? But if you can play with me later and it's like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm, like, say it's every time you turn off the TV, they throw this big fit. Why won't they listen? They shouldn't throw this fit. Well, go play with your kids in that way. Be like, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm a little kid and come up with my name. My name's Bobby, and I'm a little kid, and I'm 5 years old, and I'm watching TV, and you're my mommy, and you have to tell me to turn the TV off, and then I'm going to throw a fit. And then you have to, and then now you can play out how that fit looks and play out other ways to deal with that disappointment, right?
I love it.
Because now the child is interested. They want time with you. They want to play with you, right? And they're teachable. They're going to be learning, much more likely to learn. The other good way that I find with problematic behaviors is, like, if there's a problematic behavior, go get a book about it. Read to your kids every night. It makes, once they're in the pattern of reading a book every night before you go to sleep, and you can get books free at the library. You can get 10 of them at a time. You can check them out for 2 weeks. I have a bag that we keep all the books in so I don't lose any of them, and it has my library card attached to the bag. So as long as I know where that bag is, I can take it to and from the library. But like when my kids, you can read books. Before I had my second, we read books about what it was like to bring a baby home, because it's a teachable moment. They're sitting there, and it's a good transition into bedtime, because they're laying there reading this book with you, snuggling with you, and it's a good bonding time. But when you have those problematic behaviors, there's a lot of books out there that put it in funny ways. Like I read this one that was about, the social butterfly. It's at the library, and it was excellent. It had a butterfly on the front. The girls wanted it, right? So we picked that one out. They pick out their own books. And I'm reading this book about this social butterfly that likes to talk during class and talk so much plays with so much during lunchtime that she forgets to eat, and her friend doesn't get to eat because they talk too much. And, and now all these things. And my daughter said that's like me. And I'm like, so it was teaching her about problematic behaviors that I wasn't even witnessing, right?
Right.
And she was able to identify with that little butterfly. But what that book did was it talked about how that butterfly recognized that and how that butterfly did other things to help take care of herself and her friends.
There you go.
And so when you have that routine established, you can kind of plant books that go over those behaviors, and the child doesn't even know.
Let's talk about this and do it on the down low.
And if you're not sure how to handle a certain behavior, go see a therapist. How you were raised may have been the best your parents could do, but it might not have been the best. There's a lot of science out there into how children's brains work, and it may be worth getting your child investigated or evaluated to see if there's something else.
Yeah, I know that little booger took my cookies.
And there are really concerning behaviors. So if your child has ever beat up an animal until they died, or things like that.
I mean,
please see a doctor.
we want to recognize these problems, okay? And see if we can't nip that in the butt real quick.
Yeah, they probably need to be followed.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We appreciate it. All right. Let's see. If you got a question for Dr. Smith, as always, you can hunt me down in the grocery store. Or, you could always go to our toll-free text line, or our anonymous text line, right, Doc Bryce?
501-313-0944.
See, he knew it was coming this time. All right? I mean, he was sitting there looking, waiting.
Yeah. I thought he might have been asleep.
Way to go, Doc. All right, it's the Roundtable, brought to you each and every weekday morning by our buddies out at Flaming Pig Barbecue. For catering and more information, 818-5984 SAU Tech. Multiple classes will be starting this fall. Go ahead and find all the information you need on their website, sautech.edu. Go Rockets. St. John's Place and Washington Nursing and Rehab, short-term, long-term, and rehabilitation needs are all their forte. So check them out online, stjohnsplaceofarkansas.com or washingtonnursing.com. First Choice Family Care, that's Dr. Jera Smith. Her and her staff are there to assist you in all of your medical needs. She takes most insurances. There's not very many that you don't take, right? Insurance?
No.
No, I mean, you take pretty much everything. Yeah. So get a new patient packet at myfirstchoicecare.com and then give them a call, 870-800-9002. OCMC's Chemical Dependency Unit. Addiction's a tough thing, man. And if you want to get the help you need, then please get the help you need. I don't care where. But these guys are professionals. They've been helping people for years and years and years. One of the number one treatment facilities in the nation right here in Camden. 870-836-1289, 1-800-232-1289. All calls are confidential. Mitch Lowe's Body Shop. If you get yourself into the ditch, just call Mitch, 837-2560. Stories Floor and Carpet, quality you can count on since 1958. Located at 2004 Lorraine in El Dorado, 870-862-9446. Everybody's Antiques in El Dorado. Corner of Bradley and West Hillsboro, 120 booths, 31,000 square feet. Shop them online, everybody'santiques.com, or call 875-1444. And by Cabin Rural Health. Cabin's there to help you in 8 separate counties of rural South and Southwestern Arkansas. Learn more about their services and the ways that Cabin can help you at cabun.org or call 870-798-4299. All right, guys and gals, we got to get through the top of the hour stuff. Glenn Beck already in progress, and Dr. Smith looks like she's a busy lady.
I got to go to the hospital.
All right, well, we'll get her out of here, and you guys stay tuned.
News Talk 92, KBEU Bearden.
Sorry, can you clarify that last sentence for me?
That means the news and talk of South Arkansas on News Talk 92, KBEU.
Do the capacity that is needed out there.
Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. First of all, you notice the sleight of hand there, which is now it's no longer the war that is doing it. It was the beginning of the amassing of the troops on the border.